Welcome, everyone, to another great episode of The Sound of Orange here with me, Diego and Matt. Today, we have another great topic to share with you from our point of view. Which piece of equipment should you use and why? So, equipment being such as when you go into a gym, you probably see dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, bands, machines, which machines, body weight. So, there's a lot of things to unpack in this topic, and we're just kind of going to give our senses of what we think, at least for the general population, how they should start off with, why they should start off with it, if that's depending levels and things like that. So, Matt, when you see somebody come into your gym for the first time, or you see people who are unfamiliar with it, they're coming, but they're trying to get familiar with it. What's your best recommendation of how to utilize the gym to the best of their abilities for them?
100%. In a lot of gyms, when you walk in, it's very intimidating. Usually there's a flow and there's a reason for why things are cardio, functional training, weight training. But it's always dictated by the goal. What are we trying to achieve? And then what is the best? Because that's what machines are and equipment is. They're tools. They're tools to get a desired result. So, before we can answer the question as to what tool we're going to use, we have to answer the question of what are we trying to achieve? What is the outcome we're looking for? And that's first and foremost. And then the other thing that I'm looking for with clients or people that walk in is any injuries that they might have, any limitations, and of course, things that they like to do, things that they hate to do. But I'm mainly starting with kind of what can I use for them to get them to the goal in the safest and most effective manner.
Yeah, which I agree with. Again, the gym definitely a scary place. There's people who are look so intimidating as myself. Obviously, I have a sweater right now, but you can't see my absolute units. So if people see me to the gym, I can absolutely tell why they're intimidated. But yeah, for most of my clients, I tell people that, especially when I move around, that I am assessing them in a sense where I am seeing what they can do and what they can work with in their movements. So when I make somebody move or I see somebody and tell them like this is the gym, what I hope that they do is like I just want you to go move around and because from that movement, and especially once we know their goals as well. Once you see the movement and what they can do, then I go it's like okay, what are your goals? And from there on in, I kind of mix those two together. I was like, okay, you can do X, Y, and Z, and you want to get to here. So let's do this in this way, this in that way, and this in this way to hopefully get us here in this end journey, end game, as we will, when it's all said and done. So as for me, I'm just going to use myself as an example. Is my goal for my general population clients and myself is to get either bigger, faster, stronger, and more mobile at the same time. So one of those four things usually is the main goal that I'm working with. So I stick a lot with kettlebells, and I have found kettlebells has been pretty effective to me and my clients in getting those aspects. And when we use those things, um, we do a few things there. One, we move through motions. So, meaning I get mobility in between. I get a lot of other things such as power and strength. And I get cardio. I get a lot of aspects in kettlebells. So, therefore, when I usually start somebody off, um, I try to see what I can work with them with kettlebells. So I don't go for all the moves immediately because it's technique based and I have to teach somebody how to do it, but I see what I can start with that piece of equipment when it comes to my general population. What do you usually start them with for your clients?
So that's a great. So when you break down, I guess the different movements that people can do, the different movement patterns, and kettlebells are great because you can work all of those. Yes, we're looking at a squat, a hinge, a push, a pull, a rotation. So usually, when you're assessing someone, you'll start with something body weight. But to your point, I mean, we assess people just for the folks listening. The second they walk in, you can tell their gait, you can tell if they're favoring something, what their posture looks like. You can kind of see these things. Sometimes just having a conversation with someone will tell you all you need to know about their limitations without even needing to go through a movement assessment. Um, I know for you, Diego, like you like the kettlebells a lot, and the kettlebells are great, and that's another thing. You have to find the one that you'll enjoy and stick to. And there's different seasons. Like for me during COVID, it was just all kettlebells. And that's what I had. So like I did an entire program with kettlebells, and it was great. And it was a wonderful tool. And then once the gym started getting back open, it was nice to use other things, but you really have to gravitate towards, again, it's dictated by the goal. And a lot of people, and this is a separate conversation, but just like a side note, I think some folks, when they come into the gym, they have to make the differentiation between, are you just trying to work out, to work out or are you trying to work out to get results? And those are not necessarily the same thing. People will come in and we want everyone to enjoy exercise and the benefits of it. But to get results, we have to be much more intentional about the things that we choose and why. So anytime, like I'll put someone on a piece of equipment, there's always a reason for it. So to go back to your question, as I kind of just went sideways there, it's just going through those movement patterns of a squat, a hinge, and then we love our turf here, just functional movements. Then how does this person
Mm.
move? Putting them through just some maybe animal different movements, crawls
Yeah.
and bear walks, and just and static holds, and just seeing how does this person react to resistance? How does this person move? That's really how I do it. But everything is dictated from the result that the client or the person coming in is trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I also think you said a pretty important word that most people should understand, especially when it comes to my exercise and my kettlebell as well, is I view it as a tool. Everything that
Mhm.
is at the gym, for most people, we should view them as their tools for or as we would call our goals and our results that we want to get, depending who the person is and what they're going for. So everything at the gym is should be viewed as a tool, and every tool is as we know, helpful to at least do A, B, or C, depending on what you're trying to do. So that's how I believe as well we should view equipment. Because a lot of people will look at them again as scary, intimidating things. Because I can understand where it comes from, but really, what it should be viewed as are these tools to help us enhance our life. So,
Yep.
believe it or not, folks, I don't only use kettlebells. I know most of my videos just involve kettlebells, but I actually use barbells, bands. I use machines as well as much as so because everything is a tool for me to enhance my performance and those
And with
things.
all those things, and as you continue to get new certifications, kettlebells, and
Mhm.
leveling up, there's always progressions and levels to it. So that's
Yeah.
what keeps it fun. I think anybody out there who gamifies fitness is going to be in fitness forever because that's what really makes it fun. And you achieve, hey, you get to different levels of kettlebells, you're able to do different things. There's some really hard, complex exercises out there, really some complex routines to follow. And yeah, no, you go ahead,
Yeah.
thought.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. That's also another keyword is fun. I think one of the things that most people should be using the equipment is if do you find that thing fun? Like to me, and I'll let people know. There's this equipment that we have in the octagon where you pull down the rope, right? I don't do that for myself. I don't think I ever have an interest of pulling down that rope machine. But some of my clients find it really fun to pull that rope machine, and it
Is that
has
the
benefits.
Marpo one, the one that never ends?
Yeah, the one that never ends. It just keeps
Yeah,
going
yeah,
and
yeah.
going. Just
I
keep
always
pulling.
tell people like they're like, "How long do I
Yeah.
pull this?" I was like, "Till the rope runs out." But that's the joke. It will never run out, folks. It will run forever.
But a lot of my clients find that fun. So I'm like, yeah, get in there. This is movement. You find this fun. If you this is something you look forward to, absolutely. So that's also one important thing to tell people or let people know is, hey, do you find this thing fun? Do you find this like it keeps you coming back? Then that's also something that should give you an idea that hey, this is probably one of the equipments for me at this gym that I had to come back and keep using.
Yeah, everybody's got different tastes, and people are going to like different exercises. People are going to like exercises that are hard, and they're just going to gravitate towards certain things. Now, with that being said, yes, there are going to be exercises in your program that are really good for you that you're probably not going to like, and that's okay. I think it's important to have a healthy balance. Probably like one or two that you're like, oh, I really don't want to do that, but I know I should. That's good. And then having also those exercises that you really enjoy. I don't want someone to have all exercises that they like, to be honest, and I don't want someone to have all exercises that they hate.
Mhm. So for most parts, sadly, most of mine hate the exercise I give them, which obviously comes in this territory. But they
Yeah.
forgive me later on. So I think they haven't said it out loud. I'd like to think any day they're gonna apologize and forgive me. Which
Sometimes they like the destination, Diego, but
yeah.
they might not like the it's like, man, I'm so much healthier, I'm so much fitter, and I'm so much stronger. And it's like, okay, that's why he had me do all those things. And then it makes sense. It's like any coach, it's in the beginning, it's like, man, why is he having me do this? And then it's like, then you have that light bulb aha moment. And then it makes sense. And then once you see
Mhm.
the results, then you really start to enjoy it because you understand what the positive benefit that it has, even though in the moment it's sucks.
And now we have to go to the opposite of the topic as well, because we're discussing on what things are great for you. There's a lot of things also I want to make sure I let people know that I tell my clients, hey, this is definitely not for you. 110% this is not for you. Some people was like, yeah, that's for him. This is like someone who like I'm trying to think of an example of a recent client I've had maybe that I had to tell this to. Oh yeah, so Because the client I have is double jointed, right? So their push-ups are it always hurts their collarbone. So we change the mechanic on the push-up and things like that, but and usually we change the mechanics on some presses, but I usually let them know things in fixed positions that can't be moved or manipulated to their joints. And I was like, that one's not for you. That machine looks fun. Yeah, I get it. I understand that maybe you want to try it, but technically that just wouldn't benefit you as much as this push movement would. So I always like to let people know that although all the equipment is there for a reason, some equipment should just not be touched by you. You know.
That's a great point. That's where having a trainer and that third eye can really be beneficial. Um, I always want people to differentiate between soreness and pain. And the longer you do this, the more you're able to really tell, hey, that's hurting the joint. That's not muscular. That's something that I need to stop doing. That's such a great point. Machines are built for, yeah, a broad range of people, but sometimes things just don't agree. And not all machines are equal. You can go on, and that's where machines are tricky too, because if I go on a chest press at Lifetime, then I go on a chest press somewhere else, could be a completely different brand. I could feel completely different. A shoulder press at one, might wreck my shoulders, and then I go on another one and it feels nice. So the quality of the machine does matter, and how it fits your kind of biological makeup.
Yeah, which will again comes to the point of making sure you assess yourself or having someone assess you when you're moving would be
Yep.
the important part of how you find out what's going to be good for you and what's not going to be good for you. So uh, that's a word I can't believe I can think of the word pain. I was like, there's some word I'm trying to think of. I don't know why. It's too big
Because
of a
you
word for
blocked
me
it
to
out from your
remember.
vocabulary. I don't feel pain.
Exactly. That and weakness. Yeah, so if you
Yes, no
feel pain,
weakness.
that's probably one of those like red flag alerts that hey, that probably isn't for you. You know. And to understand the difference between pain and soreness, I feel like most people will immediately understand. But for those who don't understand, usually that's where a trainer would come and help you determine what it is most from the movement pattern that you're doing.
Or like a lactic acid burn.
Yeah.
I had somebody who was on the leg extension one time, this years ago,
Mm,
and she started to feel like that burning sensation you get in your quads, where the lactic acid
mm,
builds up, and she was like, "Oh my, I don't know what just happened." I was like, "What? Are you okay?" And she's like, "I don't know." Like, so she felt that sensation for the first time, which is part for the course of the exercise, and she's fine. It's just this
mm.
lactic acid builds up in your quads, and it's burning. But if you never felt that, now most people listening probably know what I'm talking about. It's just we refer to it as the burn. But if you're a novice, you're not sure what that is. You've never experienced that, and then all of a sudden, the more experience you get, you're able to differentiate between pain and soreness,
Yeah.
and just like that burn that comes with the exercise.
Because my kettlebells do that all the time to people is where they'll cause quote unquote pain, and at times I let them experience pain. Sometimes I have to, with usually safe, relatively weight, where I was like, okay, this is gonna hurt them, but it won't break them. Like they'll probably
Mhm.
feel it, so I'll let them know the difference between like, hey, that's pain. This is a different thing of pain, but it's something they're gonna feel. So my kettlebell will usually give quote unquote low back pain to people when they're doing it, and they're like, I feel some of this in my back, and they confuse that with pain. And I was like, oh no, it's just the low back exercise. You're gonna feel it, and then I'll give them a different. I was like, and then they was like, oh, I feel pain on that one. I was like, that's what pain is.
Yeah,
And
they could get that lower back pump,
yeah,
and then they're yes, they're
mm,
mistaking that for pain. Very common. It's very it's tricky, this stuff, and that's why having the objective eye and having someone kind of guide you through it is so important, because otherwise you can find yourself spinning your wheels forever, for years, just doing the same thing over and over again. Doing something because,
yeah.
and you brought up a great point, because someone else is doing it. And that's why I really advise people against just, they go to the gym and they watch someone else does, and then they just do the same thing. And it's like, you have no idea what that person is training for. You don't know what their goal is. They could be in a rehab phase. They could be have a very specific training protocol for a very specific reason that doesn't make sense for you. So you need something that is really kind of custom built for you, and something that makes sense for your structure and your goals. The goals drive everything.
So I guess for you and your goals, mostly because the audience is curious of what gym equipment's right for you, Matt. Like when you go to the gym, what do you is it everything? Is it oh I do just barbells, or I was like I don't even go to the gym. This is all natural, baby.
Yeah. So for years, I mean, yeah, it was barbells, and it was, dumbbells, and some machines. And I was really one of those people, like, in my 20s, where I'd be like anti-machine. I don't need machines, it's like, but as I've gotten older, and I recognized the benefit of them. And especially as you get stronger, as you get stronger, the machines are wonderful because one, they present stability, which from a hypertrophy standpoint is critical, but also just setting up. You know, if when you're pressing very heavy dumbbells, half of the exercise is just getting them into position. So if
Ah,
I can
yes.
take that away by just getting on the machine and having it kind of already set in a comfortable position where I'm still pushing, I'm still getting close to failure. That's much more appealing. Same thing with people that do hip thrusts. You know,
Mm,
you set that bar up, that could take 5 minutes to get that thing set up and load it up. They got to get in position, got to get a belt or a bench set up, and then
mm.
you're. Whereas now we have these wonderful hip thrust machines where it's just like put on the side, good to go. So I've definitely gravitated more recently towards machines.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, yes, it will be a little bit of everything, and I'll cycle through exercises where, let's say, I'm trying to target my the upper chest. And I'll go incline bench for maybe 6 weeks, and then once
Mm,
that plateaus, then I'll go to the incline. We have a wonderful incline machine press here,
mm.
so it definitely skews more towards machines. How about yourself, though? Other than the kettlebells, what kind of stuff do you like to use?
So actually, mine was a lot of barbells in the beginning, but if the audience doesn't know, I have a term called osteochondroma, meaning I have deformities and tumors throughout my body. So at first, when I was working out, my pressing always hurt and things like that, but I had the gym bro mentality. I was like, oh, I don't know pain. I was like, pain is good. I love pain. So it used to be barbells and dumbbells at all times until I was like, okay, maybe I do know pain. And as I age, obviously, it happens. As you said you were anti-machine when you were younger. I was anti anything else but a barbell.
Yeah,
But
there's
now,
definitely a young like pride
mhm,
that goes with that, and it's just I don't know,
hap-
it's just
actually,
inexperience.
because
Yeah.
I've heard of many trainers actually that don't use machines because they're like, oh, like who needs machines? Like especially I have a lot of young trainers that I see that have that same philosophy. So it kind of is like one of those rite of passage. Eventually, as you age, you'll learn experience, obviously. Yeah, the kettlebell was very forgiving and very easier to deal with my body, and now I use mostly kettlebells, but I still make sure my goal is to be able to do 225 on bench, squat, and deadlift 5 times. So as long as so every now and then, like once every 2 months or once every 3 months, I'll grab those and I'll test it out if I can still do it. Comfortably. So meaning no pain for those who are coming in. Challenge, yes, pain. That's where I'm like, okay, but I use machines now because, as you know, we age, and same points you brought up. It's easier to set up. It's easier to stabilize, and a lot of body weight as well. I like to make sure um, I can usually move through like because now I'm getting into like hiking and I'm getting into all these things that are challenging that require more mind and muscle connection within my body. So calisthenics and things like that. But yeah, kettlebells are still number one for me, and then. Um, Everything else, it's still being used for everyone to realize that I still need to use it all because machine has it's a tool, like we mentioned. And yeah, so mostly kettlebells and everything else like is probably coming in 70% or 60% kettlebells, and the rest is 40%.
Yeah, and that's such a great point that you made though about like for you, like that was what your body needed, and you found this thing that it was it's kind of like not to go so off top, but like with supplements, people are like, oh, like I took this supplement and it was the best thing in the world, and then you have someone else take the same thing, it doesn't do anything. Well, that person was probably very deficient in that category, and they needed that. So for them, it had this great effect for you with what your body needed. That was like the perfect tool at the right time, and it doesn't mean that for someone else it won't be beneficial, but it's just finding the right setup. Like my guys over 40 or over a certain age, I'm not having them press barbells over their head. Just the risk reward, certain things I will opt for. Like the deadlifts, I will opt for a trap bar deadlift every day of the week over a standard barbell deadlift, unless they're competing and they need to. Um, just for those listening, with that, the difference is just one is you're grabbing it by your sides, kind
Mhm.
of like you're picking up a
Yeah,
suitcase, where one is you're picking up in front of you.
yeah,
So it's just little things like that. But again, if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I have to deadlift, which very rarely happens, but if they're like, I need to do it like that, then yeah, we'll
mm,
work it in. But there's never an exercise or a thing that you have to do. The big three have been romanticized, where it's like I got to bench, squat, and deadlift. It's like you really don't. And especially nowadays, we have so many great pieces of equipment that have come through
yeah.
that you can replicate those movements almost more effective. But they are always going to be effective, but I need people to be in this for the long haul because the greatest kind of ability is availability. And if you're not available because you're going to be hurt, that does you no good. So,
That is 100% true. 100% backing up on that as well. Where lifting, should be safe, challenging, fun, but also not fun at the same time. But yeah, that's how we determined that those are the best exercises to give to our clients, and hopefully you guys took some of this information and really digest it to see what works best with you. So, as the steps go, assess or ask someone to assess you, see what's comfortable, see what's not comfortable, and kind of understand your goals and the best way to get with them with all the tools that are available to use. There is no one wrong tool, but there is no one right tool. It all depends on the preference. But only by no, I'm not gonna say experimenting, because experimenting seems like you have to go put your body out there and test and fail. But only by the curiosity of movement in between and trying to find out what fits you best. That's the best way probably you'll find out. But other than that, guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. If you have any questions that we mentioned throughout this, please feel free to leave comments and we'll answer them when we can. Other than that, our topic hopefully helped out today, and then next one will be even make it even better if possible. Other than that, I'm Diego, and that's Matt. Hopefully, we see you on the next episode of The Sound is Orange.